Hey everybody, welcome to When We Walk. I'm Micah.
And I'm Shireen.
And this is a little podcast where we sit and talk about the things we talk about when we walk.
So we took a walk in the rain the other day.
Yeah, it was fun, kind of.
Was it?
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah, it was great.
Because I hated it.
I know you did.
You knew the minute it started, you said, you want to go back, don't you?
And I started feeling stress for you. I was trying to enjoy it, but I knew you were not.
No.
So then I carry your tension.
But do people actually like walking and running in the rain?
Yeah. The one lady who passed us with her dog, she didn't seem irritated, but she also didn't seem like she was enjoying it. So
no, because she knows she's got to go home and clean up her wet dog afterwards.
That's
that
no fun.
Stinks. I just don't. I don't like.
It?
I don't know. It feels terrible. The drops feel very harsh. Like you're moving.
They were big drops that day.
They were, and I don't know. I don't want to come in the house wet and. It just is not feel enjoyable. But I know there are people who are like, oh my gosh, it's raining. What a great run or walk or whatever I'm going to have.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're one of those people, let me know what you love about it because I might need to change my mindset.
I know.
You enjoyed it though. You think it's fun.
It was nice. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of
well,
nice. Just
I don't know
nice
if we'll do it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes you just don't know. We didn't know.
We didn't know.
It just came.
It just showed up.
It was a little gift from God to us.
Or
to
not.
You.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But we did talk about something on that walk. We were talking about our podcast.
Yes.
And you had some like retro, is that how you say it? Like retro thoughts?
Yep.
Thoughts that
Post-podcast thoughts.
Post-podcast thoughts.
Yeah.
That you wished you had said certain things. And one of them, so when we talked about kind of our thought life, like what we were thinking during the stroke, and I brought up the idea of vain imagination, and I asked you, what are yours?
Yeah.
Like, where do you go with your vain imagination? And you had a great answer.
No, I didn't really. I was kind of reaching, and I talked about plane rides, and I mean, it's true. It's genuine,
true.
But in the moment, I couldn't get beneath the surface.
But it wasn't what you really do feel like is where your thoughts go.
Yeah.
But then you had a great one. So what is it?
Yeah. I struggle with comparison. Always have, my whole life.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. And so, I mean, when you're little, it's the things like when you're just first growing up, it's like, am I as fast or as smart or it's all performance oriented, right?
Course.
It's sports. It's where you fit in school, grades wise. And then as I got older, like in college, I struggled with comparison related to just like friendships. And so like I happened to be popular.
Like where you fit in the lineup.
Like, wow,
I think everyone
they got
does.
called tonight to hang out and I didn't.
Yep.
And so your thought
That's
goes
real.
down there. This is like so humbling for me to talk about. This is, which is related to last week's podcast. I don't like to show weakness. So this is,
this is good.
yeah, it's great for me. I hope everyone enjoys this. And then as I've gotten older, like in ministry world, as ironic as it is that we're really just doing ministry to serve God and love others,
Right.
There can be a real trap of comparison, I think, related
to,
you look at other pastors who are like better speakers than me, or they're like writing books and they're traveling the country and they're have these great like revelations, insight on the word. And then, I'm very, in many ways, unimpressed with what I offer the world sometimes. And so I think just in every phase of my life, there have been different ways that I've compared, but the commonality is it's just
comparison.
like good old fashioned comparison.
Yep.
Yep.
I remember for us, it happened very early on in marriage too. Remember, we got married right when a lot of our friends were getting married.
Yep.
And we lived next to everybody. It was a great season.
It was amazing.
But it was so easy to fall into that trap of comparing with a lot of things, like not just, what you have, but opportunities you get and all kinds of stuff. So I think it definitely is something we all struggle with. I think the harder part is what it leads to in our lives and in adulthood, and where we go with that, kind of all of our, especially for us, like early on, we had no money.
Right.
We had zero money to buy or do anything.
Right.
We couldn't even, there were months we
awful.
didn't even know if we were going to pay our rent.
Yeah.
And someone would just pay it for us, and God took care of us. But you can easily fall into that trap and think, either God's not blessing me,
right,
or taking care of me, like, right, all those kind of places that your thoughts go. But then it's that mentality of keeping up with the Joneses, which I think is very real in the South, especially. I mean, I think it's real everywhere.
Just different versions of it, I think.
Right. I think social media feeds into that. But we grew up with that because there is that kind of pressure to keep up no matter what your social status, your financial status, you feel like you have to keep up. Mm-hmm. I mean, wouldn't you say that was true?
Yeah, always. Yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of it's human nature. And I think comparison can often come from the kind of a perceived deficiency that we have in a particular area that, people say you never compare with people who don't have what you have.
Oh,
you
yeah.
compare with the people who have what you want. And I think it often comes out of a perceived deficiency. And so I was thinking about this. I think it operates like on 3 levels: surface level, kind of mid-level, and deep level.
Okay.
Surface level, and they're all P's because...
Of course, because you're a pastor and this is what you do.
Right. So surface is possessions. Like, we compare possessions.
Okay.
You have what I don't have. You have something I want. You're jealous, you covet, whatever. And then kind of on a little bit deeper level, it's performance.
Yes.
That's the second P, which is you can do what I can't do.
Yeah.
You're better than me.
Yep.
And then I think on the deepest level, it's person. So you have possessions, performance,
look at you.
person. And I think person is
such a pastor.
Value. It's like you have more value than me.
Yeah.
You're of higher quality than I am. And it's
then it
almost,
gets into an identity issue, right?
Does, yep. And I think they're all interrelated.
Yeah.
And I think it's all coming from, again, a perceived deficiency. Not that you feel great in one area and awful in the other. I think they're all interrelated, but I do think sometimes people are a lot more self-aware of their tendency to compare on the most surfacey level, which is the stuff.
Just the stuff, yeah.
And have not yet done a deep dive into but is that actually connected to something deeper?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe rather than going super deep today,
talking about our identity,
right? Let's talk about the surface level.
Sure, let's stay there.
Let's talk about stuff. Let's talk about possessions and ways that
it's such a real thing.
It's so real. It's every day.
Okay, so here's a great example. Our daughter comes to us and starts telling us about Taylor Swift and what's his name? Travis Kelce.
Yes, Travis Kelce.
And
wait, first of all, now we have joined the chorus.
What?
In talking about them.
Because it's fascinating.
Everybody.
Because it's interesting.
Okay, all right.
Everybody's interested in it,
I kind of wanted to stand against, but you brought it up. Okay.
Well, we have to. We have a teenage daughter who's a total Swiftie.
Yes.
But here's why. Because you talking about the possessions thing, it made me think. I was reading the stats about how his Instagram influencer or Instagram followers went up 247%. All his merch sold out.
Yep.
The outfit he was wearing when he left
oh my goodness.
The building that day with her sold out.
Wow.
Like some shoes he was wearing, all these things.
Very few people could pull off that outfit.
I don't know. Who's wearing that? Who's wearing that? That's a good question. But that is how much we love to keep up.
Yeah. Totally.
What is it in us?
Yep.
I mean, that's bizarre.
We want to be who they are or have what they have. And yep.
And
once it's in front of us, we just find ourselves wanting it. Like nobody laid in bed the night before that video went out and thought, I want an outfit that is a blue and white tie-dyed suit. Right? Like nobody wanted that. And then we all see it and everybody
all of
wants
a sudden, someone wants it, not us.
Right.
So there's something about that, like desire to keep up or to have what other people that, whether you look up to them or you think they're better than you, it's like this comparison that leads to this. I don't even know if it's desire really, because maybe you don't even desire the things that you're going after. Yeah. It's just, it isn't a deeper desire that drives us, but then we end up going after all these things.
Yeah.
Things we don't really need.
Right. And I think maybe they offer like a momentary happiness or a momentary sense of fulfillment. And it like feels good for a moment.
Right.
To like have this outfit that Travis Kelce wore and it's like, ooh, this is great, whatever. I'm so interested in it. Like that Halloween this year.
Oh man.
Everybody's going to be Taylor and Travis.
Everyone is going to be
walking
Taylor.
out
as long
of
as
that
they
stadium
make
together.
it. They have to make it.
Anyway. So, I think that, what was I even saying? Oh, that sense of happiness.
Yes.
Like it does offer a sense of happiness.
Momentary, probably.
Teddy Roosevelt who said comparison is the thief of joy.
Right.
We know ultimately, I don't know if Teddy would agree with this or not. I don't know his theology, but we know that God is our ultimate source of joy. And so I do think it is an attempt to find something that our soul longs for, that our soul is craving. And it's the easiest thing to go after, right? Like it's just swipe your credit card and you can have that little sense of fulfillment or that sense of happiness or that sense of even connection with what other people are experiencing that seems to make them so happy as well.
I think it brings momentary joy. I think it curbs that feeling of comparison for a little bit. And then I think it also just, I don't know, I think it's a mask or even like a shellac of maybe some other things that are happening that keep us from having to feel certain things, right? Like, I think the more things you have, the more you go after certain things. Like it's bringing a level of comfort to you that you don't have to deal with maybe some of the stuff beneath the surface.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I've never had a shopaholic problem, but I could see like always just going for the next thing. It just fulfills something and it keeps you from having to feel anything deeper potentially.
Yep.
And so I could see that would be
retail therapy is
I mean,
thing.
Yeah.
It's like a coping mechanism.
Like the thing for women, it's like going and just shopping at Target, just walking around Target, right? That's the joke of like, I don't have my kids. I can go just shop around Target and look at all the things, spend the money. I can return it later if I want to. Like there's something that we tell ourselves that's cathartic about that fulfills something in us that I think is, I don't know. I mean, in some ways it's fun and good and there is joy in going and walking around a nice clean store instead of sitting in my dirty house with all these old things that my kids have ruined. But there's still something I wonder that's deeper of like this desire to want to have all these things. And then of course we live in this consumer world that changes, I mean, fast fashion and changing, your decor. Who changes the decor of their house all the time?
Every season.
And Target makes you think like you have to change your decor every
That's
season.
true.
That's a problem for me, not for you.
No, not at all. I like what we have. We could stay there forever.
But fast fashion, I mean, that's an issue. Like even for guys now, right? Like you love shoes. You really only need so many shoes.
Right. But I'm never satisfied.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's something that our world has created that pulls us into it to feel like not only is it comparison and keeping up, but telling us that we need these things. Yeah. We have to have them. We have to be like everyone else and keep up in that way. And I know for me, the scroll through Instagram and seeing these women with their homes, I know you've seen it in me. Like, I will have to go through and unfollow for a season, like all these women that I started following who decorate their houses. And it's like, I went through a season of, we're redoing something or whatever. And I want to get some ideas. Yeah. And then I realized I'm looking at that too much and I'm so discontent with our house. And God gave us this house. Yeah. Like we really feel like it was a blessing from the Lord. And when I become this discontent, then I realize I've got to stop that input because it's not doing good things in my heart. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So there's maybe an approach to this that we can intentionally curb. And I think it's important that we don't like overly, I don't know that we're communicating that this means you're an awful person if you want things. No, of course not. It's human nature you're drawn to. Now, there is a point where, like, if you're driven by greed, you could really go down, a dangerous path of, like, driving your family into debt and all those kind of things. But I do think, just the general pull that most of us feel on a daily basis can be resisted with some
like simple practices. And, you know,
Yep.
you and I have tried, we're not great at it yet.
No.
I think we're just edging into simplicity.
Yeah.
Like trying to be more simple.
Okay, so let's talk about simplicity versus minimalism.
Yes.
Because there's this
different things.
You've brought it up a lot. Like you want so desperately
Right.
for us to be a minimalist.
Yes.
And I feel like you're wired a little bit more that way. I am not.
Yes.
I tried.
Yep. I think the
I'm not.
minimalist thing this is going to sound like a really interesting statement. I think the minimalist thing is marketed to guys.
I think it is
think
too.
There's something about guys that are drawn to. And so I was drawn to it for a while, and isn't it interesting that it's marketed to, because it really is.
Yes.
And the more I got into this whole lifestyle of quote unquote minimalism, I don't know who defines that, but
I don't either.
it's kind of a culture, subculture. I realized you can, whatever your threshold is. So like if your threshold is, I want to spend less, you can actually spend just as much, if not more, on minimalist items that are just super high end, super sleek, well designed.
Because that's the idea, right? Like, I'm not going to have as much stuff. I'm not going to give into the consumerism message of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to buy higher quality, which tends to be more expensive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but still good quality. So
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
there's still pitfalls to it.
Or you could say, if it's not even like I want to spend less, it could be I want to have less, which is, I think, the real essence of minimalism. You still have to resist the new product that will make you even more efficient, or that will, you know, replace these 3 other things, or the more durable item that costs more because you need it'll last longer. So I found, as I edged into kind of the potential of like, could I do this? Because it is very attractive to me.
Yes,
the lifestyle,
it is.
Except for the shoe piece. I don't think I could just have one pair of $400 white shoes and be happy with that. I would rather have a bunch of colors and
some options.
Yeah, but it's anyway. So I do think, so you have, in a world that is constantly drawing you to compare what you have with everybody else, I think some just kind of fall into consumerism, materialism, which is like, I just got to keep up.
Yeah.
I think others can go the other way, which is I'm going to become a minimalist, but that can actually
also
produce the same thing.
Yeah.
You're still trying to create
You're idolizing
an image,
the
you're trying
minimalism.
to keep up with what the minimalist trend is.
Yep.
And so I think simplicity is a
different than in
a
that
wiser approach. Wiser approach. So the way that I've heard it described, Richard Foster in his book Celebration of Discipline, and I want to read this so I get his quote right and the way he defines this. He says, "It is an inward reality that results in an outward lifestyle."
Okay, that's good.
I think what minimalism is focused on, the outward lifestyle.
Yes,
and again,
I think
minimalism
so.
is fine.
Right.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but it can focus just on the outward lifestyle.
Yep,
and
I think so.
the practice of simplicity is grounded in a contentment with what we have, a gratitude towards who provides it,
Yep.
a peace in knowing that he will provide as we need.
Yes.
And then it kind of curbs that urge inside of us to just keep going after and gaining and accumulating.
I think so.
Because it all starts with, I think, the way he describes it, or Foster describes it, is when you lack a divine center. He uses language but when you lack a divine center, meaning a connection and understanding of the role that God plays in your life and where you fit in his heart, if you lack that, then the most natural thing to do is to go after that in other ways, to go after the peace that divine center offers in other ways.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I can feel that. I mean, I think it still can be a struggle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have struggled definitely with trying for us to move more. It definitely is countercultural. I'll say it that way, because it feels like it pushes against the stream of maybe your sphere of community or just the ways of the world and the consumerism. But I think for us, there's many ways you can go about simplicity. Like, we've definitely tried to be more thoughtful of like where we're purchasing, how we're buying, how much we're buying, you know, and even trying to teach our kids, because it's harder even for them, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's also, for me, I know the more we've talked about simplicity, for me, it's been not just in possessions, but also with like going back to comparison with like what I see other parents doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like when it comes to our kids' lives and the things we're saying yes to, you can look at other families and say, oh, wow, but their kids are doing this, 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 and this. And they are going after, you know, the elite team sports,
Mm-hmm.
and their kids are in this program and they're in this track for school.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's a struggle for me. And so
Yeah.
what happens is you can end up putting your kids in all these things because of comparison or whatever. And it's not simple.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I feel like fighting comparison simplicity looks like simplifying our family's life and just saying, no, let's just choose. This is what we can do right now.
Yep.
Financially, with our time, because of how many people we have in our family. And so I think that is also a way to see it, not just in possessions, but
Yep.
then it does kind of help you prioritize. It does make you, like you've said, grateful for the things that you already do have in your life, and kind of focuses you in one
Yep.
direction maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one way to think of simplicity is being grateful for what you have and trusting that God will provide for what you need and some of what you want. I think all of what you need and some of what you want tends to be how God shows up. And when you have that truth kind of rooted in you, I think it does impact the way you interact with a very consumer focused world. I think about like in our college days, I was like minimalist to a T.
But it's because you had to be.
That's the point.
You had no
It's
choice.
like I kind of prided myself on the fact that I could move from house to house if, you know, in between school years or whatever.
In your
Literally everything I
car.
possessed in my 1992 Mazda Protege.
Yes.
I would put the bookshelf in, I would slide it in the back seat, and then I'd put everything I owned in the different compartments of the bookshelf. And that was all of my worldly possessions.
Right.
And there was a part of me, knowing that maybe I was going to be a missionary one day, I was going to give everything away for Jesus, that was like, look at me. Like, way to go. Way to live simply.
Yeah.
The reality is that was just it was kind of a status thing. It was an image thing that I was kind of patting myself on the back for. And your true heart gets displayed. And my true heart got displayed as we have grown and we have more resources.
Yeah.
And it now becomes not out of necessity that we own what we own, but out of decision, out of choice.
It's
like
a
we
choice.
have options.
Right.
And I think in a very affluent culture, simplicity gives us a joy and a freedom in what we have that can curb, because many of us do have choices and we can continue to get more. And now with credit cards, I mean, it's like you can get whatever you want, it feels like. So I think it's that heart level where when what simplicity then looks like in your life might look different than someone else.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
I think so. I also think the idea of choosing simplicity in a world that is pushing us to own more and do more and be more. I think what those things can do for us as followers of Christ is create comfort in a way that only God can be that for us. He can only be our comfort. He can only be our provider. It's what you've said. Like, it refocuses us. I think when we strive after these things of the world, we lose our internal drive to strive for Him and to strive for the eternal, because this is all temporal. This is all going to go away. And if we keep going after those things and we kind of shellac ourselves to that, really that drive and internal desire is supposed to be driven towards God and towards eternity. And if we kind of coat that and comfort ourselves, then I think we lose an important drive that's in us that's actually pushing us to something more important.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think simplicity helps with that.
It does. So I've got 3 tips.
Okay.
Like pragmatically, there's things people can do.
Let's hear them.
To maybe move away from comparison, consumption in particular, and into simplicity.
Okay.
And these are Richard Foster's. He's got like 10 of them, but I just thought these 3 were really good.
Okay.
And I think they apply to everybody. The first is buy from a place of usefulness.
Okay.
and not just desire. So really ask yourself the question, is this useful?
Okay.
I think that can help us.
I mean, we can all justify that though.
Yeah, but like it definitely might create a little bit of a like, at least ask the question before you just get it of like, do I need this?
Yes.
Is it actually useful for my life? Will it actually? And so even like with the clothes thing, we keep referring to that. It's like, you know, I'm kind of cycling out of some of my shoes because I'm trying to like keep
You're
this
trying
thing
to be
under
simple.
control. Yes. And so I think it's this intentionality around what we buy is really what it comes down to. At least asking the question, like, do I actually need this? And if you are going to get it, is there something else maybe you can
get rid of? Yes.
Which is the second thing.
Which is kind of the way we do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second thing is learn to give things away.
That's good.
It helps with our tendency to attach to the stuff we have.
I think that's really good.
And attachment, emotional attachment to the things we have. We don't have time to get into all this, but it starts to become an issue of identity and status. I mean, it often all comes back to that. So learn to give things away. And so one of the ways you do that, when you buy something, give the other version away. Especially if you tend to buy things. What?
We had a friend who anytime they used to come to our church, anytime we would tell them we liked something of theirs, they would give it. Yeah. That was like a practice they had. It.
Good sunglasses one time from Compliment. That can really be taken advantage of.
It was a couple that we were I know.
Yeah.
But they would do that.
Yeah.
But it was like that same posture of like, I don't want to be too attached to this. And you want it, I'm going to bless you with it. I loved that.
I love that too.
I wish I could be like, I want to be like that.
That's a scary way to live. Yeah.
Anyway,
that was brilliant.
So what's the other one?
And just be mindful of anything that could be an addiction.
Yes, that's good.
And so what is an addiction? I think it's like anything where I'm finding a level of kind of like emotional comfort from this beyond what it probably should provide.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, and that's where simplicity looks different as it's lived out. And I love, that's how Foster talks about it. It's an inward reality that influences your outward lifestyle. And I think if you have an awareness of like, so just use the shopping thing. Like I always shop on this day because I have this one meeting on this day that stresses me out.
Right. Know your
and to like recognize that like, am I buying it because I need it, or I'm buying it because it makes me feel better after this hard conversation that I have on a regular basis or whatever.
That's so good.
So that takes a little bit of reflection, but we're all prone to different addictions, different things, and some of them are wildly destructive, obviously, alcohol, drugs, stuff like that. But some addictions aren't like wildly destructive, but they can just kind of slowly suck the life out of us. And they actually also keep us from going to the true source, who is God, who can actually minister to whatever it is that's uncomfortable
like
in our lives or painful in our lives.
That we're kind of covering or comforting. That's really good. I would also say, have conversations about the things you're going to purchase. Even small ones. You and I talk about even the smallest things that we're going to get. It's like, I could justify this, I think, in my own head. But if I tell you, you could actually tell me the real truth and say, no, you don't need another one of those. And it's humbling and helpful, and that's accountability. So, if you're married, talk about it. If you're single, have friends like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this other thing. What do you think? And your friend could be like, you already have 10 of those. Do not. Or they could say, no, this is a better version of what you have. Get rid of the other thing. So I think talking to people,
and those can be such scary and uncomfortable conversations to have. But I think if you ask around your friend groups, you'll often find people who are recognizing the same kind of thing. It's just no one's talking about it.
It's just another layer of vulnerability and community too. And it's one that we don't value, but I think is really important. So that could be helpful too.
So maybe buy for usefulness, get comfortable giving things away, talk to your friends about it, be careful of addictions. I think if listeners to this did one of those things, it would move them in a direction where, again, the goal is freedom. Like simplicity ultimately is freedom. And God is the source of our joy. And I think when we are less counting on temporary things to meet our needs, and we more count on the eternal source to meet our needs, we'll find ourselves more alive, more free, less concerned with what Travis Kelce is wearing or whoever else, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we can look at it and we can give it
Yeah.
a thumbs up and we can like it, whatever, but it doesn't mean we have to have it immediately.
Yeah, it
and that's a
curbs
much
that
like
feeling.
more free way to live in the world.
I think so.
To be able to enjoy what's around us, to see, enjoy, and even celebrate what other people have and the way they live their lives, but to not feel like we have to run after it because they have it.
And we live countercultural.
Yep.
And we're supposed to.
Yep.
So hopefully this is helpful.
Hopefully helpful. Yeah.
So some of y'all asked.
Yes.
No, we asked y'all as listeners on social media.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear from us?
Got great responses.
We got some great topics that we're going to probably tackle at some point, but then also some good little fun things that y'all want to hear. And so someone asked us, what is our favorite Mexican restaurant in Omaha?
Yes.
Hopefully, Zach, if you're listening, you don't hate us, because he did say, don't say La Mesa. And here's what I want to say about that. He threatened to stop listening. Zach, don't stop listening just yet. We loved La Mesa when we first got here. And here's why.
Yes.
It was the only place that had the white cheese dip.
Yep, totally.
In all of Omaha, we tried
White
so many
cheese.
places. And coming from the South, every Mexican restaurant has white cheese dip. And we could not find anyone that had it here except for La Mesa. Now, it's not necessarily our favorite Mexican.
I love it. I like
it.
Yeah,
we still like it.
Yeah,
but
I'm down. So the beef nachos. This sounds so basic, but if you give me a plate of just the nacho chips,
it is
and
so
the beef,
boring and basic,
just swimming in white cheese, like
our kids love it too.
I just
though.
never get tired of that ever. That's
and
all
it's
I need
cheap.
in life. Yeah,
it's so good.
But there are some other ones we really
do
enjoy.
like some other ones. We love Moolah.
Yeah, the street taco. Any place with good street
good
tacos.
street tacos we like.
I think it's almost like you have two versions. You've got kind of like what we grew up is with Mexican, which is just kind of
like
that swimming white cheese.
Yep.
And then there's the street taco thing, which is just so good.
It's so good. Yeah.
So we'll try a new place tonight.
We are
trying a new place tonight on a date.
We are. And we'll let you know if we like it.
Yeah, so maybe we won't mention the name of it yet because if we don't like it, we don't want to throw it under the bus. But I'm very excited.
So there's our semi-favorite Mexican restaurants.
Yeah, we do love Mexican food.
We do. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for listening and tuning in. And we hope y'all enjoy this episode of When We Walk.
Bye.
See you again next time.